Stuber. Linda should be thanked more than once because he was title reader last month, and we had some confusion as to who would be doing it this month, this night, and she volunteered to do double duty. So thank you.
You guys have to put up with me.
We're glad you're here.
Our judge is Becky Jaffe. Becky is new to the club, but she's certainly an experienced judge in the N4C groups. And a couple of members had seen her judging for the Marin Club and said she was great, and she's agreed to judge for us tonight. Before we go to that, one last point. We'll start. So we'll go through 3 categories, and then take a 5-minute break, and then 2 categories. So we'll start with critique feedback, then monochrome, then travel. That'll get us through roughly half the images. Then we'll take a break and then go through nature and pictorial. So with that, Becky, welcome.
Thank you. Okay, now you may hear that I'm primarily interested in what we can learn from each other tonight. So I will be emphasizing that. Let's dig in.
Okay, so we've got critique feedback, all levels, 9 images. Illusions.
So here I get a sense of like a sweeping motion, something rushing past, either water or wind, almost like, you know, it's dizzying or there's a blur of space. It's quite abstract. There's no focal point in particular. Kind of an interesting tonal range. Hitting a lot of the points on the zone scale in the zone system. I'm left with the impression of yeah, kind of a blurred, dizzying impression here. So there is a mood to it, although no focal point in particular. It's a great canvas to project your own mood and memory and experiences onto. Next.
Great blue heron with dinner.
A wonderful capture. You know, we photograph a lot of great blue herons across all of the camera clubs, and given that it's done so much, the challenge is how to make it stand out, and this one does stand out, largely because of that snake, which is just really kind of thrilling in a primal way. The fact that the snake is partly wrapped around, its tail is partly wrapped around the great blue heron's bill is amazing, and that its head is up, kind of looking alert, even though it is mid-flight. It's really quite extraordinary in terms of a predator-prey capture. Very well done. No overexposure anywhere. The focal length is dreamy, but with all that realism in the foreground, just fabulous technically. Very well done. Next.
The cure for pain is in the pain. Roomy.
A potent image. You know, I see a lot across the camera clubs. I judge for about 15 camera clubs, and I see a lot of beautiful work of rocks and wind and water, not a lot of human portraiture. And I think this is a really strong double portrait here. We can really feel the man on the right because of those crow's eyes on those crow's lines on his eye. You know, those function sort of the equivalent of a catchlight in the eye. We can really feel his feeling there, and the furrowed brow. It's part concentration, but we do pick up that pain that's referenced in the title, or at least intensity. And then the man, what a stark contrast to the man lying down who has his eyes closed and could be dreaming or sleeping, but you get the sense is sort of bearing it. And their relationship, what a powerful relationship. The light on the gloves is beautiful. The intimacy of the connection, how close in we are, that really brings us in and helps us feel what this experience is like, even if we ourselves don't have tattoos. It's a powerful, beautifully done portrait. Kudos to this artist. Next.
The vast Panamint Mountain Range serves as a backdrop to the spring storm passing over Death Valley's Mesquite Dunes.
Wonderful dichromatic image pairing blue and yellow, which always works as a color pairing. When you sort of pare down your palette to these two, that's effective. And so it is here. As is the aspect ratio. That really wide aspect ratio gives us a sense of the sweep of space. And what's really making the image is the particulate matter in the air. There is this saying, fog is a photographer's friend. We often repeat that. But really, it's any particulate matter, dust, smoke, anything that will scatter and diffuse light as this is here. It's really quite beautiful to see. Lots of texture to enjoy here, lots of undulating forms, a very well rendered landscape. Next.
Homage to 17th century still life artist Giuseppe Rico.
Isn't that something? We kind of know what this is in the sense that we know it's an aquarium and probably this is at a restaurant and probably we're going to pick one of these and eat them. So we kind of know what it is in a realistic sense, but it's so much more than that. It's so much beyond that. It's really getting at that relationship between the sublime and the grotesque. There's something sublime here, obviously, in, making contact with any other living form, especially one as alien as this. But there's certainly something grotesque here in the crowding, the imminent mortality, the fact, the ineluctable fact that all existence exists at the expense of other existence. We must eat, and that means that it's at the expense of other species. And so there's really this incredible grotesquerie here, which is so compelling. I think if you're going to make art, you're probably working with that relationship between the sublime and the grotesque a lot. And this one is really nailing it. Next.
Be a darling and bring me another margarita.
Well, you can certainly hear whose voice that is. She has that diva attitude here in her pose. And she does look like somebody who would issue orders. So that title really fits well. Wow, it's a fascinating portrait because behind her on the wall to the right is this double-natured creature, this, part devil, part death figure, a very intense kind of mythic figure. And she's kind of capturing some of that attitude in her diva-ness. And then this man on the left who's sort of a foil or a supporting figure. I think if you think of each photograph as a short story, you need a setting. We have a setting here. You need a protagonist. We have a protagonist here. We even need a foil, right, for that protagonist. So you have really a whole short story emerging in this one rectangle, which is a hard thing to pull off in one rectangle. But yeah, this would be a great prompt for writing. Next.
UFO. I watched for about 15 minutes as the small aqua orbs made right-angle turns, one by one disappearing into the white, pulsating orb. Then the white orb vanished. Real, no alterations to the content.
The title really hints at mystery there, and I think mystery is a strong tool in the artist's toolbox. So that's working here. I think what maybe needs work to be worked on here, there's sort of that shadowy blob in the left. I can't quite make it out. Maybe for some viewers that adds to the mystery. For others, it might just kind of take away from the overall composition. That's sort of a personal aesthetic. The main source of light there toward the center, it is a little blobby and it kind of lacks shape. But so I think I'm kind of looking for maybe more composition in the composition. But as far as the mystery goes, that piece is working. Next.
Stars above and below. Under a foggy full moon, El Capitan's climbers camp overnight mid-ascent on portable ledges, their LEDs twinkling, and are blessed with majesty. Yosemite National Park.
Interesting. You know, normally we would think of those pixels as spots to remove, but they really add so much to the story here as it's told, that these are figures climbing that mountain. Some of them freehand, as in free solo, shockingly. And here, those pinpoints of light really serve to give us a sense of scale. So it's a quite effective use of like 1 pixel of light. And it's Yosemite as we don't typically see it. This is not the view of El Capitan that we are accustomed to seeing from Ansel Adams and all of the subsequent images doing homage to El Capitan. So it's an original view. I like that. The one thing I think that needs work, there's some banding in the sky, either because of the low ISO or, you know, the lighting conditions. So that banding could be dealt with either with Topaz software or printing it on a really thick rag paper, like a 330 GSM. There's even a little bit of chromatic noise there. So that could be cleaned up or masked, but it's something I would deal with before printing. Next.
Enduring the Pain at Tattoos and Blues, Santa Rosa, California, February 2017.
Isn't that interesting? You know, the same kind of expression on the tattoo artist's face, this kind of intensity and focus, and almost like the artist himself is in pain. And the same kind of like bearing it from the person receiving the tattoo, that kind of set mouth and the kind of the jaw kind of showing that tension and looking away. It's fascinating. She's looking away and you get the sense of like, you know, can she be present with this, or does she need to flee the scene mentally in order to tolerate it? It's a challenge, this level of pain. It really shows kind of the personal fortitude it takes to go this route. You have to think she's testing herself or proving something to herself here about what she can endure. And it's an emotional image. It's interesting that the tattoo on her left shoulder is looking toward the artist and she herself is looking away. I think that's a really nice juxtaposition. And the color work here is very well done. You can kind of hop from warm to warm. The one thing I would do is I would clean up that in the upper left behind his head. There's a really bright spot of high exposure. I would clean that up. I see it's been toned down, but you may want to do more than that because the eye will, of course, go to the reddest spot and the whitest spot, and we don't want to leapfrog behind the main subjects and leave the scene. Okay, next.
Monochrome, basic, 5 images. Kitty.
Yeah, an excellent portrait of a cat. You know, you have the cat's light in the eye, those really round eyes. You've got the light on the whiskers. You've got to have light on the whiskers for a cat, and sure enough, we do here. I think if you're going to photograph an animal that's a lot smaller than a human, you know, you want to get at their level or look up at them rather than down. And that the artist has done that here. We're really at the cat's level, and that brings us into their world and makes the subject have more subjectivity, more agency, more largeness in our mind's eye. And I think you can see sort of the fundamental nature of the cat here, which is to say, you know, biologists call them nest parasites. They parasitize our nests to the tune of several tens of thousands of dollars a year nationally, and we want them to. And we want them to because we love them. And you can see that love in the light here. The light is really expressive of the affection the person has for the animal. So nest parasites or not, the love is here. So very well rendered. I even like the texture in the wood on the floor. That's lovely. I think the cat would be very pleased with this portrait. Next.
El Portal, Arizona, Chiricahua Sky Island.
Yeah, this has so much working for it. I'm going to start with the symmetry and the asymmetry. I think, you know, symmetry is a shortcut or a proxy for beauty cross-culturally, and yet too much symmetry is static. And so I like to see symmetry offset with asymmetry. And here you're getting all of the symmetry of the road that's leading us in, but then that wonderful asymmetry of the mountain in the background. And the both together really work well. And I would be curious to see what you think in your own work, if that's true for you. And And then, so starting with symmetry and asymmetry and that beautiful relationship, but then also, you know, look at how many points on the zone system from 1 to 10 are covered here. You've got a whitest white and a blackest black, and you've got almost every gray point in between. And then on top of that, boy, are those clouds epic. You know, those clouds are supporting characters or maybe even main protagonists in this story. You really get a sense of the relationship between the hydrosphere and the geosphere here and the way that the former has shaped the latter. And then all that undulating texture and even the ombre within the monochromatic, it's just delicious. And there's the story, the metaphor, you know, that there's a road to be traveled here and that there are wonders on the other side should we undertake that journey. You know, there's a lot of artistic tools packed into making this a successful image.
Good work.
Mom,
One of the strongest images of the night to my eye, because it is so moving. It's so poignant. I feel for her. And I think the artist is asking us to feel for her, really. There's an intimacy here of being brought into her home and seeing what she surrounds herself with. We see that she's a reader, a thinker, maybe a writer. She's living the life of the mind, and maybe the life of the mind is more comforting than the life of the body when the body has limitations, and you can see those limitations hinted at with the supportive assistive technology here for walking. I get the sense of somebody who is intellectually vibrant and engaged mentally and is using that to really live a full life that maybe they can't fully experience physically because of mobility limitations. And there's a lot of tenderness in the portrait here in terms of how the person has created this portrait. I think we can see in the light, it's almost like, you know, the figure here has been touched with light the way a painter would dab light onto a subject they love, like caressed with light. The light is so strong on the walker, on the water bottle, on the part in her hair, on the folds in her sweatshirt. There's a lot of light here telling us about the love that the photographer has, or the attachment the photographer has for the subject. And it's an incredibly strong and moving portrait of the human condition, sort of larger than just this one person. Next.
fading past time.
Oh, a gut-wrenching title. We don't want this to fade, or at least I don't. I know we have some bookish people here and some Luddites who would just hate to see this go. So it is, this is a call to action in the title. Yeah, we have nostalgia for these spaces. Even, I mean, a lot of us, I bet you can smell this image. I think the black and white, you know, it accomplishes the task of kind of making this highly chaotic space a place that can be navigated more easily. You can imagine flipping to color and how much color we would have here and how overwhelming that could be, actually. And so flipping to black and white shows us sort of more of the structural elements of the space and helps us navigate it and reduces the chaos. I think it also harkens back to a previous time. Black and white is a classic mode of photography and does sort of connote automatically nostalgia. So if you're going to talk about something that's in the past or at verge of risk of being extinct, like reading or the bookstore, black and white is the perfect format to tell that story. Yeah. Next.
Lichen on blue oaks and clouds.
Yeah, boy, is that fog doing its part. And of course, that lichen lives off of that fog. That's where it gets its moisture from. So there's a real relationship here ecologically between the abiotic hydrosphere and the way that's shaping the botanical sphere. I like all the texture there in the foreground. Those scraggly branches really are very expressive. And that harshness, that scraggly scrub brush of the oak chaparral system is so much in contrast here with that soft, comforting, smooth fog. And I think you need contrast in an image. You need soft and hard, right? Smooth and jagged together. And here we have it. The one thing I would suggest, I think actually the arts are a great place to break rules. playfully with very little consequences, if any. But you may find that you yourself have a couple of rules you adhere to. The one rule I really adhere to for my own photography is I like to level the horizon line, unless there's a real reason to make it not level, like I'm trying to dizzy or disorient the viewer. But in this case, I think the horizon line needs to be a little leveled, and then it would make it just that much better. But as it is, quite a successful composition. Next.
Monochrome intermediate 3 images. Butcher bird on a wintry day.
So lovely to see this animal. I love seeing its bill with that hook on the end there and that raccoon eye. So soft. You know, some people might argue that it's out of focus. It's not sharp enough. And that's true by National Geographic standards or biology textbook standards. But the softness here really does connote feeling. So it's not a rule that it needs to be tack sharp. And of course, you know, it's tough to photograph snow without overexposure. And this person has really created a white background that is not overexposed, but is more of like a Zen kind of minimalism and kind of harkens to Japanese aesthetics. I like all that breathing room. I like the fact that the animal is looking to the right and there's empty space there. So there's like, you know, it's sort of like potential energy and space for the kinetic energy to move into. Yeah, really nice. I think if there were one thing I would improve on this, it was maybe making the eye a little sharper, but I certainly get the feeling here for the bird. Next.
Borobudur Temple at sunrise poses a solemn silhouette, Central Java, Indonesia.
Quite a beautiful silhouette. I think one thing we generally like to see is the same fundamental unit repeated on different scales. And we have that here. And it's a fundamental unit that we're not used to seeing in the West. So it's an interesting fundamental unit. But then to repeat it on diminishing scales into the distance, that sort of gets at our love of infinity, our love of pattern. You know, the brain is maybe a pattern projecting machine, according to neuroscience. So we want to see that pattern showing up here, and this person is giving it to us. The thing I would work on here is that muddiness in the background. You know, grain can go either way. Grain can add kind of a vintage feel and some texture, or grain can be too grainy. It's sort of a personal question. I would say this is maybe on the edge of too grainy, too muddy. I get the sense that this is maybe an old film photograph from maybe the 70s or 80s, and that it was quite maybe a low ISO. And that's why we're getting all that muddiness, in which case it, you know, it sort of has that nostalgic feel. But I think I would probably clean that up a little bit in post-processing to make it a little less grainy. Next.
Bookmark Maker's Shop, 80 years of Maine.
Yeah, I mean, boy, if this isn't Maine for you, this is totally Maine. This is like iconically Maine. And, you know, earlier I referenced sort of thinking about a photograph as a short story. And here we're really seeing that. We're seeing the setting here, and the setting is really interesting. It's the space of a tinkerer, somebody who has ideas and maybe sees a few of them through and makes a big mess in the process. And how interesting, you know, probably a fascinating conversationalist if he chooses to talk to you. And not only do you have the setting here, but you also have this figure at the bottom there, this man with the beard, who really becomes sort of the tinkerer himself in this setting. You can imagine him sitting on that stool, and look how worn everything is. It's like the elements have not only beaten down the outside of this building, but the inside as well, and the stool and the man. So you get a real sense of being time tested, weather tested, and it's quite a well-told story. Next.
Monochrome Advanced, 6 images. Dad was here.
Kind of a similar feel to the last one, you know, seeing a person in their absence through the objects that they are attached to, that they've handled. You really get a sense of the person's presence here, despite not referencing the person directly. Yeah, this person is somebody who takes care of business. You know, the wrench is sort of an expression of agency or can-do-ness. You know, you get a sense of somebody who's competent here and who can be relied on. And the light is really well done. You know, you've got different materials here. You've got wood, you've got rubber, you've got metal, and some maybe plastic. And each of those is absorbing and reflecting light differently. And it's difficult to actually manage each of their differential absorption and reflection and capture all of them beautifully. And this person has done that, which is something to study here. I mean, I think it's worth noting, like, can you take styrofoam, glass, metal, rubber, put them all in the same frame as a still life and make them all gleam? It's a challenge. All right, next.
The Badlands of the Petrified Forest National Park.
Yeah, this one just punches me in the stomach. It's just like a sucker punch of beauty. It's so, I'm sure you can all feel this. It's just like, whoa, I can fully feel this. And what it makes me feel is like, wow, I love our planet. Like, of all planets to land on, it's a pretty great one, despite its hardships. And the Badlands, you can tell it's a hard place to survive. And yet, good Lord, it's glorious. One thing that humans universally think of as beautiful is a sinuous road into the distance. Here we have a serpentine road into the distance, and we can follow that leading curve into this incredibly textured, fascinating, majestic landscape that is just truly moving. And I think the fact that it's been done with sepia, that is just like the right tone for this. I could keep looking at this for a very long time. And I think that's one measure of what's, you know, how successful an image is whether you want to keep lingering and whether your eye keeps circulating and keeps finding new points of interest. And this is just giving and giving and giving to us. Big congratulations to this artist. Next.
Moonshine over the Pacific with a slow shutter.
Yeah, I think the slow shutter is creating that mood, that kind of contemplative, meditative mood. You can kind of hopscotch the rocks into the distance. So there's a feeling of moving forward in the frame into the distance, on that path of light. I like the ratio of sky to land here. Just that narrow strip of sky is a nice choice. And you kind of get the feeling that you're gonna follow that path into the distance, at least visually, if not physically. Yeah, I feel the meditative quality here. This person is getting at awe, which is really, I think, what we're trying to get at in most of our artwork. You can feel the awe seeping in here. Next.
Daydream.
Yeah, I mean, you know, earlier I was talking about how you have to have, you know, sort of contrast in an image, hard and soft, jagged and smooth, those kinds of things. This is wonderful because you've got the linear element set against the curvilinear, you know, the linear with the non-linear, and the two just work so well together. If you have too much non-linear, it's too trippy, you know, it's too out there. Too much linear, it's too rigid, it's too like computer programmer kind of thing. But the relationship between the two is endlessly fascinating. And so I also think that the way that the linear elements are broken up here is interesting. It's not a strict rule of thirds. Yeah, you've got different sizes of rectangles. I sort of would like to see this in color, actually. But I think the monochrome works for kind of emphasizing that relationship between the linear and the nonlinear. Next.
Another World.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, it's got so much luminosity to it. It could be infrared, and maybe it is infrared, because infrared really brings out that glow, especially for yellow and green leaves. And I think we're seeing, yeah, I would guess this is either fake or real infrared. And maybe that's what the title refers to, that another world, like being able to see beyond the visible light spectrum into another part of the electromagnetic spectrum. And boy, I mean, the texture, the luminosity, those layered clouds there. This is just really quite a majestic scene. Otherworldly indeed. Next.
Hella Lily.
Calla lily is a tough subject because, you know, basically ever since Imogene Cunningham started photographing them and making them into the sensual creatures that we all fell in love with, you know, over 100 years ago, we've been obsessed with calla lilies as a tribe of photographers ever since. And there's so much photographed that you can't help but compare them to all the other calla lily images you've seen. We love them, I think, because their sensuality in that Georgia O'Keeffe way. There is something really phallic here and also really feminine. And that relationship between the two is just it does draw us in. Here I would say there's a little bit of overexposure here on the front of the spade, and but I kind of like the partial view, not being able to see the whole thing. I think that's what's innovative about this view, is that partial view, not seeing the curvature at the tip. So I would call this a use of synecdoche, which is where the artist is showing us a piece of something and letting us fill in the rest with our minds. And we kind of like that. We want to do that work and meet the artist halfway. So for that, I appreciate this view. Next.
Monochrome masters 5 images. In Inukshuk, these structures are built by the indigenous people of the Arctic as points of reference for hunting, fishing, and other activities, as the tundra doesn't offer many landmarks.
This is one of the things I really love about the Camera Club culture, is that, you know, we don't all have the time and resources to travel everywhere in the world, but some of you are traveling to places that I've never been, and you're showing me things I've never seen. I've never even seen this in a book before. So this is really expanding my horizons. Like, I had no idea these structures were built, and I didn't know, I just would never have known what these were if I saw them. I might think they were totemic somehow, but the title really does inform me about it. And it's going to lead me down a whole rabbit hole about this history that, you know, I want to learn from all of you and from the process of photography. So this is really teaching me, and I appreciate that. The texture on the rocks is spot on. The light on the rocks is spot on. You really don't have any exposure here. I see the overexposure. I see the shadow of the photographer, I believe, in the lower left. But yeah, it's the right balance. That left-right composition, it's the right balance here. Even though it's off balance, that's the right balance. So thank you for showing me something I've never seen. Next.
A glimpse of the future during a walk in San Francisco.
Isn't that just so excellent? I think this is a great use of HDR, high dynamic range. What I like about it is this kind of this you get this palimpsest feel, like, you know, that you have one layer of architectural or, you know, social history, and then another layer of architecture and social history on top of that, and then another layer on top of that, where it's just, it keeps getting layered, and this density of social history and technological progress is all kind of packed into one frame. And the HDR really brings that out and highlights it and kind of fits these pieces all together, almost like a jigsaw. There is, by the way, an Oakland-based company that will turn your photos into jigsaws that they will sell. That's relatively new. So this would be an interesting one because it'd be tough. Anyway, well done in terms of showing us that social and historical palimpsest. Next.
A boy, a cowboy hat, and bubbles.
Yeah, there's something amusing about the juxtaposition of, like, a cowboy hat is like, you know, you wear it partly because of the sun, but partly as a representation of manhood. You know, it is kind of iconic in the way that high heels are iconic for femininity. So that taking that iconic cowboy hat, which is about sort of being able to wrangle horses and do kind of masculine things, you know, but then having a child look at it with bubbles around, there's that wonderful that contradiction or that contrast there between, you know, being a man and being a child, being serious and full of purpose, and being playful and really having no purpose other than to delight adults around you. So nice contrast here. And he's really absorbed. The light on his face being reflected back is, you know, you can see him thinking. Lovely. Next.
Pickleball action.
Yeah, I think you've got a really nice contrast here between potential energy in the back, all those people sitting there with their arms crossed, just kind of doing nothing and watching. and kinetic energy, the two players really at it. Stillness and motion here really working, and seeing the both feet off the ground. That is, you know, that was what got Muybridge started, right? He wanted to know, like, way back when in the 1800s, like, is there a point when all four of the horses' feet are off the ground? And photography solved that question and continues to, you know, sort of enjoy that question. As we can see here, yes, there is a point where the feet are both off the ground. So lovely action shot. Next.
Ostrich fern.
Yeah, there's a real gleam here. There's like a shimmer gleam. I mean, there's something like, it almost like tastes like metal. I think this would be interesting to print on metal and really highlight that gleam, or print on like a burrito paper that brings out that metallic quality. It is so, the light is so good that it allows me to explore all of the different similarities and differences of the shapes of the fronds. It's this fabulous fractal structure where you really get to see that fractal nature, the way that the form is repeated on successive diminishing scales. It's inherently fascinating. And this person has used light so well to help us look at something that many people might overlook or not give a second glance at. So you're helping us see through your use of light. Next.
Travel, intermediate, 2 images. May brings the spring runoff at Mount Rainier.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see here, kind of like, you know, the whole geologic cycle. You know, these foreground rocks, they were brought here by, you know, glaciers, like just grinding down this valley and shaping this space, and you know, dumped here from way up top. And so you can kind of see that process, the way that water and ice move mountains and carve valleys, and the way the biosphere just kind of, all that botanical area just sneaks in to soak up that water, and the minerals here from the rocky landscape. It's really quite, I mean, what's working aesthetically beyond the science story is the layers. You have a rock layer, a foliage layer, you have a mountain layer, and a sky layer. It's like a delicious tiramisu of stacked layers you can keep enjoying. Next.
Rheims Cathedral and its grand soaring arches reach 266 feet. Built between 1211 and 1345, became a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1991.
Actually thought it might have been Chapel of the Chimes here in Oakland, which has a very similar structure. If you haven't been there, you might want to check it out. I certainly appreciate this architectural view and the way that a vertical panorama can really bring out these lofty ceilings and the repeated arches into space. The one thing the vertical panorama is having trouble with here, of course, is the distortion. And that's okay. Some of you might enjoy that distortion. I'm on the fence about it. I think the other thing that the vertical panorama is doing is creating a lot of floor space in the foreground at the bottom. And I think I might like to close that up to kind of help us, you know, bring us in a little bit more to the structure of the arches itself. The other thing that's a little risky here is all that blue on the top right. It's a pretty exciting color to look at. And because it's on an edge, the eye might flee the scene there. And I never want to put anything on the edges that's going to invite the eye to leave the scene. So I'm sort of questioning that blue there. But as far as a use of vertical panorama to show a lofty space, it's certainly, it's doing that. Next.
Travel advanced, 3 images. Julia Pfeiffer Burns State Park. The park is located on California's Pacific coast off Highway 1, part of the Big Sur. It features McWay Falls that drops over an 80-foot cliff to the Pacific Ocean.
Look how creamy that water is. That long exposure is giving us all of that sort of dreamy spindrift there, all blurred, and oh, it's just lovely. Same thing with the waterfall itself. That long exposure is helping us see that in a different time frame. And there is something very dreamy in the view the artist is taking. I like, again, that blue and yellow composition. You can see the yellow on the rock on the left and the blue of the water playing against each other so well. Yeah, taking a very kind of exciting, high dynamic space and making it very soothing, actually. And that's the contrast that's working here, the soothing long exposure with kind of the harshness of this environment. Really nice. Next.
Mongolian gurs, temporary encampments in the high altitude pastures of the remote Altai Mountains, West Mongolia. Gurs have been used as portable homes by nomads since 600 BC.
Here what's working so well is the scale. You know, if you didn't have those gurs in there, you might not be able to appreciate the scale of this valley and these mountains. But with those gurs in there, you really get a sense of just the vast open plains here. It's really quite extraordinary. And that golden color is so strong, just bringing us in. And again, that blue and yellow color palette, that dichromatic palette is really working here. The one thing I'm questioning is the shadow in the foreground layer. It's sort of like a barrier keeping us, the viewer, out of the scene. So I might kind of remove some of the shadow area so that we're closer in, but then I know the trade-off there is you're actually messing with the scale. So trade-offs to be had. As it is, the scale is just extraordinary. Next.
Grand Central Station, one of the iconic architectural landmarks of New York City and a gem of the Beaux Arts style, was built in 1913 and was one of the largest enclosed spaces of its time.
Look about that yellow and blue color palette together. How effective is this? It's really vibrant and dynamic. Yellow and blue have that, like, it's a kind of harmony, but also tension. And here also, like in the last image, scale is used to an impressive effect. That little human with the backpack in the lower left is really setting the scale to give us a sense of how large this space is. And I like that the blue is kind of like, yeah, separated. So the blue, you can kind of hopscotch the blue into the image. And I like that the blue is framed on the right so well. And then the last thing I think is working here is that you have 5 lights, you know, small prime numbers, 3s, 5s, 7s, they work better than small even numbers in terms of creating rhythm and repetition. And just like in music, and here those 5 are more interesting than had there been an even number, I claim. You can see if you agree with that yourselves. Yeah, just a really interesting view of this architectural space, not just a snapshot. This was carefully composed. Next.
Travel Masters, 3 images. The Riverwalk in San Antonio, Texas, is a popular place for tourists and locals alike to meet and dine, or just walk.
So I'm going to start with what's working here. Part of what's working is the reflection in the water, all of that gooey color. What's not working for me is the human element. Everybody is looking at someone else, and nobody's really connecting with each other that I can see, nor with me, the viewer. So, you know, there's this triangular relationship between the subject, the photographer, and the viewer, and I'm not feeling that human element. You know, maybe that's okay, but I think I'm missing the human element in order to feel invited into this scene. I kind of want some kind of human connection more than people just standing around and having kind of in-between moments. So I think the where the person is standing is good, and now we need humans to either have strong gesture or strong emotional connections with each other. or the photographer. Next.
Waimea Canyon, also known as the Grand Canyon of the Pacific, contains one of Hawaii's most beautiful waterfalls. Waipo's Falls cascades over 800 feet, fed by the Kokis stream in Kauai, Hawaii.
Really beautiful view of that. And here you're getting this wonderful, just like the blue and the yellow work together, this green and this rust work really well together as complementary colors. And whenever you're making a dichromatic pairing like this, it's really helping the viewer navigate the space as opposed to a polychromatic composition. The light is spot on here, this sort of dappled light. You know, you get the sense of scale, space, time, and light, and it's just it's like Earth propaganda, like come visit Earth, it's beautiful here. And I appreciate that. You know, you're not taking for granted what we've been given, you're savoring it, and I can feel that savoring in this image. Next.
Twilight at the Peppermill, Reno, Nevada.
I think I see why this person was interested. You know, the different shapes are interesting, these kind of amoeba-like or paramecium forms. You know, these, some of them are kind of, you know, Euclidean forms, circles, arcs, things like that. A lot of repeated circles and arcs throughout. But then these swimming pools that are kind of like amorphous shapes, and those amorphous shapes are a real nice contrast with the more rigid compositional elements like the circle. So yeah, I think it's an interesting view of space. I think the light, yeah, I mean, there's distributed light throughout, so that's working. There's something that I'm kind of missing in the image. It's like I see the composition is interesting, but there's like maybe an emotional note that's missing. I'm not sure why I'm having that reaction, but yeah, sometimes our responses to images is mysterious. Next.
Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back with nature and pictorial.
Nature, intermediate, 2 images. If you see a dragonfly going back and forth in front of you on a local trail, chances are that it is a beaver pond basketail, a species of emerald dragonfly.
Yeah, fabulous image. That is pretty tough to get. It's hard to get that dreamy impressionism in the background and all that scientific realism in the foreground, and yet this person has pulled it off. So the technical skills are so strong here that they've made it look easy. It's worth trying so that you can see that it is not. I think the detail in the wing structure, the veins, is excellent. The light on the body is excellent. I like that we even have light on the legs that are tucked underneath, and you can see kind of some of the aerodynamics of this animal. And you get sort of a faux catch light in the eye. The reason I'm calling that a faux catch light is, of course, that's a compound eye with hundreds of lenses composited, and it's creating the illusion of a single catch light like we have on our round eyes. So it's kind of the effect of the same effect as a catch light, but different structurally. And it's giving us all of that scientific realism that allows us, you know, that piques our curiosity for this animal, but also all the feeling of that impressionistic background that makes us feel for this animal. So it's like a union of the heart and the mind. Well done. Next.
Double rainbow above Mount St. Helena. The dark Alexander's band between the 2 rainbows is caused by raindrops refracting light upward and downward, but with no light reflecting back toward the viewer.
Very cool details in there. I appreciate the information. Yeah, this is a universally compelling image. People are going to want to see this. One rainbow is exciting enough, especially if you get to see the whole arc of it, but 2, even more so. And that blue peeking in underneath, and that really fresh verdant green, isn't that something? It's yeah, really quite exciting as a landscape. And here again, you have all the symmetry created by the rainbow and the asymmetry created by the landscape, which just really works. Next.
Nature advanced. 4 images. A rock daisy or hyrax nursing her young near her cliff hiding place, Namibia.
So cool to see that face. Like, what kind of animal is that? I've never been to Namibia, so I've never seen this creature in person. It's really cool to see the light in both eyes, the behavior, as well as, we don't just want like the anatomy of the animal or the morphology of the animal. We want to see the behavior. And here we can see that behavior, which is so relatable from one mammal to another. And we even get a sense of the environment here with that sandstone rock. You see how vigilant she is. She's like, she's like, I see you looking at my babies. Very relatable behavior here. She's a good mother. So great to see the behavior here. Next.
Crane fly, emerging in springtime and often mistaken as a giant mosquito with a 2-inch wingspan, crane flies are harmless and attracted to plants for their nectar.
Yeah, really, I think, most people don't feel as fond about crane flies as I do, and this photographer does. So a lot of people are they will recoil if you show them a crane fly, or they have fear responses. So I think if you want to photograph an animal that people are generally freaked out by, putting it on this beautiful soft petal bed was really a good move. People will be drawn in by the flower enough to, be curious about the animal that's in that setting. And you can see a lot because the photographer has given us a lot of information about the crane fly. Look at the, I don't know what you can call these, but these little things on either side of the abdomen there that are balancing the crane fly while it flies. You can see some of the kind of aerodynamic properties here of how it flies. That's so cool to see. The light on the wings is spot on. And the gesture is spot on. So I think it's a really good way to get people interested in looking at things they might not otherwise be interested in looking at. So well done. Next.
A Thompson gazelle chases an unwanted male away from its territory and across a pan of shallow water. A dominant male will closely guard its harem against other raiding males. Kenya.
Yeah, very exciting scene. Yeah, we want to see that behavior, that how does a social species relate? They're like us. They're, for a social species, highly antisocial. And so very relatable and interesting to us. I like the way that you've got all that excitement in the water. It looks like it's running on the surface of the water there, or a very shallow lake. And then if, because it's moving, they're both moving to the left, giving them room on the left, negative space for them to move into, I think is very effective, rather than closing that border too close to their faces. You get a sense that the story isn't over. We're mid-story and there's more to the story. So very exciting to see. Next.
Walrus at Smeerensburg, Svalbard.
Yeah, just an excellent portrait for several reasons. One, that light is just so good. It's giving us all the texture of the facial features and the whiskers. And then that triad, this triangular, this implied triangle here of their heads. You can sort of, each of their heads is a vertex in a triangle, and we keep moving back and forth from one to the other, and we never really are tempted to leave that triangle. There's nothing on the edges drawing us away from that triangle. There's nothing, all of the light, all of the excitement, all of the composition is in that triangle, and we just keep looking and looking in there and marveling at these incredible beasts. So compositionally spot on. Next.
Nature masters 4 images.
Yeah, I mean, a striking image for a number of reasons. It would have been sufficient had it been just rhinos having sex, which is interesting enough, not something we get to see commonly. But then, yeah, having the female's mother there, that really creates some emotion for us. That really hits at a human taboo, actually, because, you know, we have evolved to have sex in private because we're afraid of being attacked. A lot of animals, a lot of our monkey cousins and gorilla cousins are attacked during sex. So we've become very private about it. The notion of your mother or your mother-in-law watching is just deeply taboo for humans. So it creates a lot of charge because of that taboo. It's very effective. It's not just the excitement of sex, it's also the excitement of taboo. But then the light is fabulous. And, you know, this animal itself with the horn is just, it's a striking image. Everything is flawless in this image. The horizon is level, the light is great, the texture in the grass, the clouds are supporting. It's just, it's primal in all the right ways. Next.
Park treasure, one of two. A few feet from a popular trail in Sugarloaf Ridge State Park grows a small plant that rarely gets a look from passers-by. It has no leaves and disappears soon after blooming. Two of two, but in the sunlight it is stunning, a striped coral root orchid. Native to California, it reappears every spring.
I think this would be a great couple of images to send to the Native Plant Society and to the East Bay Regional Park District. These are really interesting plants here. It is a treasure indeed. How unusual. I mean, where is the chlorophyll, people? Where is the greenness? How is it photosynthesizing? Is it all anthocyanins? It raises a lot of questions about how it is actually eating. That's really cool. Yeah, let's take a look at all of that. I mean, actually, I think the pair of the images works well together because in the last image, you get to see the ecosystem that it belongs to, the plant community. And here you get to see a close-up of the details. And you really have to marvel over how on earth it is photosynthesizing. Wow, that is extraordinary. And then the bokeh in the background, those blurry circular lights, is really creating a sense of like, isn't this amazing? Look again, isn't it wonderful? That bokeh is a stand-in for like marveling. So we're invited to do that here. We even get all the detail of the spider webs. Next.
The Galapagos ghost crab is the fastest runner of all crustaceans and is a detrivore shown here feeding on organic matter found on the shoreline in Galapagos, Ecuador.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of love for detrivores, but I'm happy to see it. This is a striking image. Look at that plane. It's such a narrow plane of focus there. You see that sliver of focus and it's right where it needs to be. This person really knows how to use the focal length of their camera to powerful effect. What an extraordinary creature. You could even see the translucence through the legs. Wow. And those alert eyes. I mean, it has this Pixar quality. You know, it's compelling because of that alert gaze. And we're right at the level of the animal. So it has this largeness. The person must be laying down on the ground or the camera is laying down on the ground. It's really creating a sense of we're in the crab's world, seeing the world the way the crab sees the world. And it's really wonderful to get to see this, those eye stalks. Good Lord, what a fabulous creature. So technically well achieved, we get to enjoy the creature without thinking about the technical aspects. Next.
Frozen methane bubbles, one of two. In Arctic regions, decaying vegetation in lakes and streams releases methane. In winter, this methane gets trapped under the ice in bubbles, which freeze. Two of two. As the water freezes from the top, more methane forms new bubbles in vertical stacks. Mid-January to mid-February is the best time to see them.
This is so cool to see. I want to thank whoever submitted this because I've never seen frozen methane bubbles before, and that is truly fascinating. Wow. Both images are strong. I actually think the image on this, the second image is stronger. I love the abstraction here. I love that we're in one plane of view. I love the relationship between the circular and the linear. And the distortion of the plane of view, like, are we seeing into the ice? Are we seeing through the ice? Like, is there anything reflected onto the ice from above? It's just this fascinating abstract painting that has all this wonderful texture in it. No overexposure, and just a wonderful glumpy composition. I love it. Can we see the previous one? This one has that realism in the upper 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a pentagon at the top here that gives us realism, and then the abstraction comes just beneath that pentagon. To my eye, the second image with no realism in it is the stronger of the two, just pure abstraction. Not no realism, but really reduced realism. I think that is a highly successful abstract. Wow. Next.
Pictorial, basic, 1 image. Ceremonial Pueblo, Kiva, a place of retreat and connection from the real and spiritual world.
You really feel that sense of peace and calm here, and retreat. That light is saying so much. It's this, yeah, almost like a kind light, I would call that. And maybe that comes from the particular color of the sandstone and the way the light is reflecting off of that sandstone. It's such a beautiful, it's almost like a coral lavender blend. The color palette is so soothing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Yeah, it's a really nice use of symmetry and asymmetry here again. But I think this is really all about the light and loving the light. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, interesting number work here with the beams and the rungs. They're of a kind, same number of beams as rungs, and that really works. Whenever you have a lot of verticals or horizontals, you need the other to cross it. So too many horizontals, no good. You need some verticals thrown in and some diagonals. And here the light is creating a diagonal as well. Good stuff. Next.
Pictorial, intermediate, 3 images. Beauty of interdependence.
Great title here. This is, ecology is all about interdependence and interconnectedness. So this is getting at a core ecological concept. This is an image I could see on the cover of any biology textbook or any ecology textbook. It's really sharp. We're getting to see the detail in the antenna, the fur on the body, some light on the wings, and the way that this plant is dependent on this bee for pollination and for survival. Yeah, it's really just a lovely trichromatic color palette here. Pink, yellow, and green working so well together. And that positioning of that bee, it's just the right gesture. Everything has gesture. Obviously, the petals here have gesture, or I should say those are rays, actually, not petals, but the rays have gesture. The calyx has gesture, and the bee itself has gesture. And that gesture is really well copied. I mean, really well sort of communicated here. Next.
Spring on Daffodil Hill, Bronx Botanical Gardens.
I love this image. I think this is so fun. It really captures so much of the feeling of the super bloom. It's like we don't just want to see the super bloom. We want to be the super bloom. And this woman has flowers on her legs, flowers on her jacket. She's got flowers in her hair. She's just a ray of sunshine. She's pure joy. She's fun. And, you do want to romp around a super bloom with her. I think this really captures joy, exuberance, youthfulness, sort of a spirited love of nature. And I just think it's a great portrait. I hope she loves it too. Next.
Coming and going over the Rio Grande suspension bridge at Taos Pueblo, New Mexico.
This is so yummy. I love architectural abstracts. My eye just keeps sort of just kind of caressing this. At first it tries to figure out what's the vantage point, what's the angle, where are we standing? in a realistic sort of way. And then it lets go of that and just really enjoys the abstraction. Look at all those verticals, all those horizontals, all those diagonals. Could you possibly even count the number of irregular quadrilaterals in here? You know, if you look at that archway, you've got triangles, you've got trapezoids, you've got parallelograms, you've got all kinds of irregular geometric space there. It's just delicious in the way that an MC Escher drawing is delicious. I like that it's filling the frame with this total maximalism, and we're not seeing anything beyond that. I think the architect would be very pleased with this view, that you kind of sort of got what was beautiful about this structure. Next.
Pictorial Advanced, 9 images. Bliss Dancer and her fans.
Yeah, I like this view. I've seen people photograph this a fair amount, and I think this is one of the better photographs of it. Partly because of the silhouette, you know, the fact that you've got this rule of thirds working here, where the palm trees are, you know, sort of backup dancers for the main show here. Her gesture obviously is strong. That's built into the piece itself. But, you know, there's this whole problem of, like, when you're photographing someone else's artwork, who gets the credit for that? You know, does the sculptor who made this piece get the credit, or does the photographer get the credit? And I think, you know, one rule of thumb that we use is, like, if the photographer is doing about 50% of the creative work, a very difficult thing to estimate, then yeah, you're meeting the sculptor or the other artist halfway. And I think that in this person's use of ombre, that gradual change of color from top to bottom, their use of light, their use of silhouette, their use of composition with the rule of thirds, I would say they are meeting the sculptor halfway, and they are adding to the beauty of the sculptor's artwork. Next.
Pretty in Pink.
I love this image. I came back to it several times when I previewed the images, and that's because it surprised me. Like, it at first, you know, I saw it as one thing, and then I realized it was something else. And I like that. I think it doesn't insult the viewer, you know, the viewer's intelligence. It's like, it plays with your vision and then invites you in, and you can go deeper with it. You know, I like the way that they're of a kind. It's like, one of these things is not like the others, but it is like the others. You know, it does have the same color palette and radial symmetry. And of course, these are plants that have been shaped by lunar cycles, right? So they are of a kind, and yet they're different. And I think that compare and contrast is so effective here. Next.
Leaning In.
Yeah, beautiful. It almost looks like a watercolor at the top there. It's so simple, so graceful, so beautiful. The light is so tender. The light is really capturing the watercolor nature of these tulips. And it's an analogous color palette. You know, it's pretty unusual for Westerners to pair a purple with a green. That's more of like a move you'll see in Mexico or India. We like colors opposite each other on the color wheel, or, you know, thirds on the color wheel, but purple and green are right next to each other on the color wheel. And I think they make a beautiful analogous color pairing. Next.
Them. You can't photograph a black dog on a black background. Me. Hold my beer.
Great title. It's true. Why would anyone ever say you can't photograph a black dog on a black background? And I will note, I have been asked a lot about how I photograph Black people, and I find that a very odd question, because indeed, all you have to do is look at the light, which is our whole thing anyway. We're making light, you know, our art medium is the sun. We are wielding photons and turning them into beauty. So in this case, this person understands light. You know, they really get light. Like, look at the way the light is shaping the ears, the jowls, the nose. Like, this is like a study in light and how it brings out texture, feeling. You know, I am not a dog person, but this use of light, I feel for this animal. You know, light is a recruitment mechanism. So this light is just, it's like a masterclass in how to wield light to express emotion. I'm impressed with this light. Next.
Mono Lake Rainbow from Navy Beach, 2024.
Isn't that something? Yeah. A striking image, obviously, again, because of the light, the light landing on these really bizarre, like, how do you explain these formations? Are we on a Martian landscape? It's odd, all right. Just odd enough to be interesting. And then, yeah, bathe it in a rainbow. That's highly effective. It's a little out of focus. It's a little soft. That might bother some of you. It doesn't really bother me because it's kind of a dreamscape anyway. So it doesn't need to be tech sharp. Wow. What a planet. Next.
Dwarfed.
This is just a fabulous use of scale. The eye, as I noted, will go to the whitest spot and the reddest spot. Look at how we have like a few pixels of red there at the base. And we know that's the human that sets the scale, and that allows us to read this whole ecosystem and really get a sense of how these are the tallest trees on the planet. Good Lord, how do you pump water up from the ground 330 feet? That's an impressive use of hydrogen bonding. So I think you really get a sense here of just a brilliant use of scale. It's just perfect that that person is wearing red or an orange color, because without that, you would not be able to sort of take in the awe that is really here and available to us. And the vertical panorama, that aspect ratio, really emphasizes well the exaggerated height of those trees. Next.
Freshwater's Journey to the Sea at Sunset. Big Sur.
Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah, and here again, like in the sort of the background layer, you have all these kind of soft diagonal, or more, you could read them as almost horizontal bands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sort of like 6 or 7 bands, but then a curve in the front leading us in. So, nicely, that relationship again between the linear and the curvilinear, really nicely intertwined here. And then the light on that curvaceous path, it is so leading us towards reflection, sort of inner reflection, to resonate with that outer reflection you've captured here. A great use of layering and banding to create visual interest. Next.
Layers of Arnastapi with Kittiwakes. Iceland, 2023.
A mouthful. We have some vocabulary to look up after this. Yeah, wow. I mean, okay, so birds live here, right? Birds are shaping this environment with their nitrogen deposits. And you have to wonder which birds. Yeah, and here, in the last image, you had sort of layering from top to bottom. Here we have layering from front to back. You can sort of go deeper into the image. Although some of the background layers are blocked by the foreground layers, but there is that invitation that there are at least 3 layers here where we could keep going in deeper. And you definitely get the sense of like, yeah, this is a geologic wonderland. Next.
Sunbathing.
Yeah, one of my favorite images of the night. This is just, yeah, again, like a sucker punch of beauty. It's just giving us so much. Look at the light. That pink is a sunblock that the hippopotamus produces to keep itself from burning. And I think that's related to the quality of the light here. Look at the quality of that light. Good Lord. It's bringing out so much texture, so much detail, so much resolution. And I like that we're at the level of these animals. I mean, I'm surprised the photographer went there, because this is one of the most dangerous beasts on the planet. Certainly in this area, they kill more people than really any of the other large ones. So amazing that this person got this close. And then, my God, what a cutie pie. Look at that. It's kind of almost like a smile on the face of the baby hippopotamus. It looks like a cartoon character. It's just like eminently lovable. And that relationship between parent and child is so relatable, even if they are deadly beasts. So are we. It's just an extraordinary meeting of one alien species with another. And the light is just giving us so much here. I love this. Next.
Pictorial Masters, 9 images. Bridal shop window, San Francisco.
Yeah, she is pleased to be getting married here. You can feel her joy. She's stopping people on the street and celebrating. Passersby. I like the use of the way the space is broken up here. You sort of have 4 quadrants that are uneven, and each one is broken up further with lines and vertical lines and horizontal lines. And I think that's very effective. And that all would have been very rigid and static and maybe cage-like. But she's thrilled. And, but then I have to wonder, like, is part of that, all of this, the balcony, the lines, like, is there an ironic commentary here about the way that marriage is like a cage? One could interpret this that way. Good luck to you, ma'am. Okay, next.
A man from a different time.
What a portrait. I mean, this could be John Muir before he got wealthy. Wow, it's extraordinary. Look at the detail on the hat, the wrinkle in his eyes, the detail in the beard. Look at the light on the arm, the light on the cup. The light is just pouring over him. And he is fully present with us. He is not holding back. She's not too shy. The photographer has brought out a kind of forthright presence from the subject that is really allowing us to wonder about his inner life, his interiority, and try to figure out, like, could I live his life? Could I handle what he has handled? Do I have the savvy that he has with that knife on his side, with that grit under his nails? Could I handle what he has lived through? It really is a poignant portrait. And look at that gun on. I mean, he's got a gun and a knife. He is ready to fight. Wow. Yeah, that's a stunning portrait. I would expect to open Lenswork magazine and see this in there. Next.
Cheetah at sunset, Masai Mara, Kenya.
Look at that light. Good Lord. I know that we are not here to rank and sort light, but if we were going to, wouldn't rim light be right up at the top there? This rim light is extraordinary. Look at the way that the animal, the cheetah, is outlined with light here. That Zelda would like to comment. So let's see. Yeah, and then the way that, it's not just the silhouette of the animal and the way we can still make out both the outline and some detail in the fur. But also that light streaming in from the top there. Wow, it is full of feeling. That is a better cheetah photo. And I also like, that the animal's moving this way. There should be some negative space for them to move into. And so there is. Next.
Drumline.
Yeah, I really like actually the way that they become one unit. You know how, like, the hive, you don't look at the individual bee, you look at the hive, and that's a super organism. Like a fundamental unit unto itself that operates as a singular unit. And here, like, when humans play music together, we are like a super organism. All the sounds blend, we come together in a way. And so here, removing the faces and keeping the uniforms that unify them, and then keeping their arms in sync, you really get the sense of the unity of the music makers here. 1, 2, 3. I like the way we're led in with a path of circles here that lands in that brass circle at the end. I like the long exposure with the drums. I think that creates a lot of excitement. You can almost hear this and feel this. Yeah, the way that the geometric composition has been handled is really giving us the story of music and that connection through music. Next.
A dewy underside.
Yeah, I love this image. I have a little bit of photo envy here. I wish I had taken this myself. And that's a good thing to pay attention to. When do you have photo envy and why? this is just, I love the color. I love the detail in the vascular structure. I love the irregular drops and the way that they are acting as lenses, magnifying some of that vasculature. I love the trichomes, the hairs that are picking up water here. Good Lord. That is just really wonderful. I could keep looking at that longer, and I might revisit it later in my mind. But for now, we will move on. Next.
First light.
Yeah, that yellow blue together. So lovely. I like the low angle, the way that that tree really takes center stage here. It's the protagonist, sort of stitching earth and sky together. Reminds me of a France Lanting photo. Yeah, you've got all these horizontals in the clouds and horizontals in the geologic bands, and then the verticality of the botanical sphere rising up and stitching together those horizontals. It's well woven. Next.
A Wrinkle in Time.
Yeah, that's a compelling image. I can't tell the scale. I mean, I can sort of tell the scale, but there's a confusion of scale. The scale is told by the leaf. That gives us some sense of scale, but there's also a distortion of scale here, which I think is very effective. And really, this image is all about the texture and those, you can sort of see how igneous rock forms, the way that lava kind of cools and forms these glumpy layers. You can sort of see something about the volcanic behavior of the early Earth here. But more than that, just all of those blues and yellows and rust colors and even greens. There's some copper in here that's just creating such a pleasing color palette. My eye just keeps moving, kind of picking up colors and enjoying each of those subtle tones. Next.
Women of the Hamar tribe celebrate at the coming of age ceremony for a young male relative. Wearing traditional dress, they march in the riverbed where the initiate's father was initiated, Ethiopia.
A lot to sort of take in here. The women are clearly very much in sync with each other, which is interesting to see. Many of the women are looking off to the right. Now, we, of course, we have whites in our eyes. The way that we are different from gorillas is they don't have whites in their eyes. And one of the reasons we do have whites in our eyes is that we can follow each other's gaze silently and be alerted to danger. And as a result, when people are looking off screen, we follow their gaze. So if several people are looking off to the right here, the viewer is going to look off to the right and actually leave the frame. The main action implied is off screen to the right. So the viewer is kind of missing out on some main action to the right. There are a couple of people who are not looking off to the right, and those people are the ones we can sort of connect with more. This woman on the far left is looking more directly at us. The teenager in the back on the second right is really looking at us with some questioning. How do I feel about this person? And then the woman right in front of her, who appears to be maybe even missing a right eye, who's looking at us. Wow, those are sort of the people carrying the emotional intensity of the image. The other people seem to be interested in something we can't see. So as a general rule, I would say like keep more people turning in, looking at each other rather than off frame. But certainly very interesting for the way that they're in sync with each other. Next.
Caught in the Breeze.
Yeah, lovely small detail. I think a lot of photography, the mission is to sort of notice what is overlookable, what is mundane, and find what is transcendent in that. And sure enough, these small little beautiful curly cues, these little moments of noticing are the stuff of a spiritual life. So wonderful to see this level of attention being paid. Next.
Okay, we've covered all of the images. We'll take another 5-minute break.
Are you sharing?
Not yet. Hang on.
Not yet. Okay.
Coming.
So I'm still seeing my screen. Let me get my screen out of the way.
Okay, we now have monochrome basic 4 images on the screen.
Okay, just a sec while I get my screen out of here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to see what you're seeing. Okay, monochrome basic 4 images. Honorable mention.
All right, get my cursor in the right place.
James, press the M key. He has no metadata.
Right.
You know, while you're mentioning that, how do I put the metadata in? I was trying to figure it out, and it's like,
That's your EXIF data.
right.
When you have to make sure, sometimes with your editing software, some editing software, for example, whatever is managing your pictures, and then you go to editing software, when it ships the image to it, it strips out the EXIF information. So somewhere along the path, your EXIF information disappears.
Huh.
Sometimes it's a setting, sometimes it's a limitation of the software.
Well, yeah, it's coming out of Lightroom, so.
There's a button you can click in Lightroom to turn it on or off.
Okay, that's what I'm missing. Okay, I'll research it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. 3rd place. Dan.
It's here. It's a fun image.
Great
Really
expectation.
Yeah.
amazingly sharp.
Congratulations to Dan. 2nd place. James.
Nice.
Good.
Yeah.
You ever go to the Chiricahuas? It's amazing place. So.
Really inviting.
Yeah, well, the Sky Islands, they're set in the Sonoran Desert or other desert areas, and so they're mountain ranges that rise out. So you get a whole range of transitional zones, ecological zones, as you go higher in elevation. So you actually in the Chiricahuas, you can get up to that kind of alpine level plant material. So very fascinating. Very
I
fascinating.
like that there's kind of a missing stripe in the middle of
Oh,
the
yeah.
road.
Yeah.
It just kind of brings you in.
Becky?
Yeah. Yeah. So no, great.
Really, really great.
Thank you.
Yeah. I like it
Congratulations.
a lot.
1st place.
Oh, damn.
Dan.
Wow.
Yeah, that is awesome. Mm.
Congratulations to Dan.
Well,
Monochrome intermediate, 2 images. 2nd place. Mark.
nice, Mark.
Very nice. Oh,
Congratulations to Mark. 1st place, Amy.
that's really
Very-
beautiful.
Very nice.
Mm. Awesome.
I want to know where it is in Maine.
Yeah. Hmm.
Congratulations to Amy. Monochrome advanced, 3 images. 3rd place, Greg.
Well, this is a collection of tools that belonged to my dad. And I took this photo with a little travel camera when I was visiting my mother about 11 years after my dad had passed away. And the light was just coming through the side of the building to illuminate this. And there's no flash or anything like that going on. But there was a fine layer of dust on everything, which you would expect. Thank you.
Nice.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Nice image.
Poignant.
Congratulations. Second place. Tricia.
Whoa,
Thought that was Tricia.
she's not here, but wow. Cool.
Yeah, well, because of the infrared.
Yeah, I bet it's infrared.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Very nice.
Nice. I love how the clouds mimic the infrared of the foreground foliage.
Mhm. Good seeing.
Congratulations to Tricia. First place. Cindy.
Oh, thank you. Not much to say about it. I took this a couple of years ago at the Petrified Forest, and that's actually a walking path that you can do through this area. And it's just, it was just really pretty.
Just beautiful.
Wonderful.
Congratulations. Monochrome Masters, 4 images. Honorable mention, Mike.
Mhm.
Cute.
Really cute.
Congratulations to Mike. Third place, Anne.
So stunning.
Lovely.
Beautiful.
Fabulous shot.
Mhm.
Yay, Ann.
I got hooked on macro and ferns right now. This one's in my
Great.
backyard, for example.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
wonderful.
lucky
Nice,
you.
Ann. Gorgeous.
Print that one.
Yeah, metal.
Congratulations. Second place, Jennifer.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this was I'd never thought of it in terms of needing landmarks, but it makes perfect sense once that was explained to me. And it just, there's supposedly a language to how the stones are arranged and that tells directions where things are. Anyway, it's a really interesting way that they've developed to keep track of where they are on the tundra.
Wonderful.
Beautiful.
Oh, and Tricia just arrived.
Oh, good.
Congratulations. First place,
Yeah. Knew
Mike.
that was Mike
That is
picture.
something.
I mean, that is such good seeing.
Oh,
Yeah.
I knew that was Mike.
Yep.
Very cool.
Actually, I thought it was Bill.
It's a stunner.
Like the new Gotham City.
Mhm, mhm.
Ah,
Reminds me of his Chicago images.
We were all taking shots of that very area on the
Right.
little field trip we did.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's really unique, isn't it? Very nice.
Yeah.
yeah, just stunner.
He got a winner.
Congratulations. Travel, intermediate, 1 image. Amy. Congratulations to Amy. Travel advanced, 3 images. Linda.
So beautiful.
Oh, thank you. That was
No, I'm really jealous.
a beautiful place to see that you can no longer get to anymore. Right
Oh, because of the roads.
Yeah, because of the slides.
Hmm.
This was just, a month ago.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Really
thank
nice.
you.
Congratulations. Second place, Ronnie.
Mm.
Oh, thank you.
Nicely done.
Thank you. I
Beautiful.
took this on a photo walk that I found in Manhattan, and I've done 4 photo walks with her since then. So I highly recommend it. But what a building. It's so amazing. Thank
Oh.
you.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I love how I get that sense of imbalance. It really adds to the picture for me.
Yep.
Thank you.
Congratulations. First place,
I
Pat.
thought that was a Pat picture.
Congratulations to Pat. Travel Masters, 1 image. Herb.
Ooh.
Yep.
Landscape Man.
Great light.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
gorgeous.
I like what you said about the color,
Mm-hmm.
Becky. Thank you.
Congratulations to Herb. Nature Intermediate, 2 images.
Oh, Mark.
Second place, Mark. He's our Insect Man.
Yeah, sure is. Pretty amazing.
Congratulations to Mark. First place, Fritz.
It's really something.
So incredible.
Wow, that is
Beautiful.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow, really beautiful.
Double rainbow too. It really brought it out nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Notice the colors are reversed. I always think that's so cool.
Yeah.
I've read that every rainbow is a double rainbow. You just don't usually see the second one.
Right.
Oh, really?
What you really don't usually see, it's possible to have a quadruple.
Wow.
I'm gonna look for that.
Need a lot of drugs.
We're probably all children of the 60s.
Congratulations to Fritz. Nature Advanced, 3 images. Third place, Pat.
Cute as
So
a button.
cool.
So sweet. Oh,
Look at those.
Wow, they are so cute.
It's such a weird expression.
It's probably vicious, but it looks cute, right?
I don't think she's in a happy mode.
Yeah.
I like the little white spots on their backs and the mom's eyebrows.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're such cool little animals. I like the little round ears. They're so cool.
Yeah.
And from the
Little
back, they almost
nose.
look like a rabbit. You know, their hind legs are
Mhm.
real strong like that.
So sweet.
Congratulations to Pat. Second place, Cindy.
Thank you.
Beautiful, wonderful action.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Really is. Nice.
Wow.
Oh.
Congratulations. First place,
Yeah.
Ed.
Thank you.
amazing.
This was the top of a mound of probably 50 walrus all piled on top of
Wow.
each other.
Wow.
And that's what they do. They have these great mounds of walrus but these, I just fired off so many shots of these. They're terrific animals. It said the site, Smeerenberg, is of note. That's a place where in the 1700s through the late 1800s was a major whaling place. And you can see old charcoal kilns for where they used to burn the blubber, the remains of them. It's a preserved site, and you can no longer get to this place. It's all shut off now. It's they changed the laws.
Every whisker.
Yeah, it's a great shot.
Mhm.
Really unique.
Oh,
The lighting is just nice.
I love it. They're just I love the animals so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Nature Masters, 3 images. 3rd place,
Jennifer.
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 Thank you. Yeah, this was such a surprise. I went to the Arctic to see the Aurora Borealis and didn't see anything very impressive. And then just as an afterthought, we stopped to look at this stream. We were using this stream bed as a road. And in some areas, the wind had blown the snow away. And I just couldn't believe my eyes when I saw these bubbles. It was just amazing.
Fabulous.
Forming little
Yeah,
stacks like that.
I
Gorgeous.
love this one.
Yeah. And
Was there a reflection of a person in the first image?
That was the question I had too. In the right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
it's possible.
Huh.
Because our whole group was running around, but I had never noticed that before. Huh.
Jennifer, are those containers or is that made by nature? The
Made by nature. It's a stream. This is like a deep pool in the stream, but because the stream was still moving somewhat underneath, I think it cracked the ice, and then snow gets blown into the cracks and makes what looks like walls and compartments, and they're geometric shapes, but not always regular squares or whatever. Yeah, it's just a really strange way. I think in a lake, this wouldn't happen, but in a stream, Goose Creek, which this happened to be, the movement is what causes the cracking.
Fascinating.
This is cool.
That is, yeah.
Very
Got the right pattern there with that. Beautiful.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, it looks alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, this is really great as a standalone too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this one is,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree.
Congratulations. 2nd place, Herb.
Yeah. My gosh.
It's definitely a
Been down on
Pixar
the ground.
picture.
Detrivore.
Jeez.
Congratulations to Herb. 1st place,
Oh
Wow.
my goodness.
Tamara.
I know.
Thank you.
Glad you're here.
We did watch these for quite a while. It was quite a scene.
Wow, I can imagine.
Oh,
And
How
I
he's so
close were
big.
you, Connor?
I'm sorry?
How close were you?
Well,
Oh, it doesn't say there. We were sitting right next to them, actually, in a vehicle, and I had actually put out another body, another camera, and a like 24 to 70 propped up on a book. We got back in the car or the Land Cruiser, and then I was shooting using my phone, to set everything. And they walked right in front of me. I don't think this is one because I have them with more grass in front. But I was trying to shoot rhinos, walking right up to my phone, and then I was shooting with the other body in the car. So this one was, I think this one was from the car.
Wow.
But so pretty close because I had a 24 to 70 on the other lens, and they walk right up and look at it and get bored and turn around and walk away. And I have some much more graphic versions of this.
That's
Especially from
great.
the camera that was on the ground right next to them.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
I'll send them to you, Nancy, offline. Thank you.
What is it called? Not safe for work?
Oh, yeah.
You
Congratulations.
could get a sign-up sheet to see who else wants to see.
There you go.
I've got some elephant shots you wouldn't want to see. Oh, I've got all sorts of stuff.
Pictorial Basic, 1 image. 1st place, James.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really.
That's very
Yeah,
nice.
that was, I wasn't expecting to take a picture and climb down there and turn around and said, oh my gosh. wonderful. And by far, this is one of my most popular photos with friends. So it's a screensaver for a lot of people.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice shot.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow, nice. Makes you want to go back. Yeah, go back and see those again.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Pictorial Intermediate, 3 images. 3rd place. Elizabeth.
Very good.
Got a good eye.
Yeah, nice.
I still haven't figured this out. What, you know, pretty amazing.
Oh,
Yeah. That's very cool. Haven't gone across that bridge. I'm thinking, wow, what a cool angle to take that.
yeah.
Because, you know, I went across that bridge once, but I never thought
Awesome.
about getting down
I
and
think she
doing
was,
underneath like that with the arch that supports it.
she was just there for a workshop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
pretty narrow canyon there, deep, narrow canyon. Rio
Made of
Grande.
macrame.
Yeah, really. That's just really
There's some-
nice.
Congratulations to Elizabeth. 2nd place.
Would you text
Amy.
Sherry and say we'll be over in a minute? We're just finishing up a program.
This is really fun.
It's great.
I can see that in a Coca-Cola commercial.
That really is.
Damning
The
with faint
flowers.
praise.
Yeah, that's great.
It's pure joy.
I just have to see
Congratulations
if I
to
won.
Amy. 1st place. Mark.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to see Mark.
No, I
still
know, he just,
posting.
he called me on the phone.
Someone's got to mute. Nice, Mark.
Congratulations to Mark. Pictorial Advanced, 6 images. Honorable mention. Ronnie.
Very
Thank you.
nice.
Well, as you all
Very
know,
nice.
I love flowers, and this one was just so unusual and very, very hard to get the colors because it was so dark.
Nice texture.
Lovely job.
Really nice in the black background. It
Stands
really
out
makes it
really
stand
nicely.
out.
Yeah. I love the little touch of green on that outer petal.
Yeah.
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 Beauty.
Yeah, wonderful detail.
Thanks.
Congratulations. Honorable mention. Ed.
Thank you. It's funny because on my screen, this is tack sharp. There's even a duck nest on that, the little outcropping on the right.
Okay, I'll be down in a minute.
And so I was surprised to see that it was out of focus in
Just
that
tell them I have
screen.
images competition. I want to see.
Could somebody mute themselves, please?
On the phone?
But this was, it was about 12 degrees. And I ran out of the car when I saw this. I was parked and I camped at Navy Beach. The light was just starting and then the rainbow started and I couldn't even believe it. But it's that, this is with the 400, so there's a lot of, this is a ways away. And I was tight with the lens in it, so it was just pure luck.
What do you think's causing the loss of resolution from your original?
Damn if I know, because I look at it on my screen.
I have an idea.
Sharp.
It might be related. Is the image that you upload, is it at a higher resolution than the 1920 by 1200 pixels? That's the maximum size, because if so, the system will compress it as opposed to if you compress it first.
Well, I always have, I export with a SRPS category on my export and from Lightroom, and that's fixed with the 1920, but I will double check it. Because I might have snatched up one of my other JPEGs on my desktop.
This one is 1/30th of a second. So I would expect it to be a little fuzzy.
Yeah.
That's on a tripod.
Was the
Mhm.
vibration reduction off?
I had, yeah, when I shoot on the tripod, I always switch it off. It's, but there's a duck nest, and I can almost see the feathers on my screen.
Wow.
So I'm gonna double check that.
And it's
What-
only 1200 pixels high is,
Yeah. One thing to check is that for sharpness is look at it at 100% and see how it is, because when you crop and by the time you convert it, then you're going to lose a little resolution. And if it's not quite there at 100%, then it's going to be, it'll come out more, be worse as you do these things.
Yeah, I'm gonna double
Export
check
it.
that, because I haven't had an issue before with that, but with this one, it just seems to be, I was surprised to see that it didn't look good on the screen.
Yeah,
At
I
that
love that
point-
color background though. Gorgeous. That's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And,
At that point, if you're losing resolution, then you look into using an AI upscaler, which can be very effective in this context.
Oh,
yes. Yeah.
I've been dreading the AIs, but I'll have to embrace that.
I mean, like gigapixel?
Topaz Sharpen uses AI, and they do a great job because you can dial in how much sharpening you want, and then they'll show you what it looks like at 100%. So I recommend that. I use it occasionally for images that need that little extra oomph or have a little bit of noise.
Oh,
So that's,
nice. Does it have masking?
Topaz Sharpen, you can mask out individual areas or mask in, select an individual area, or you
Good.
can just do it for the entire picture.
Well, thank you. I will look into that.
Yeah, it's worth it. I think a lot of club members use it, and it works well.
and Topaz Photo AI includes the 3 products, the gigapixel, which you can up 6 times, the denoise and sharpen, I believe. So it has the 3, although they're more, I think there's less flexibility of in it, but others may know.
Yeah, Lightroom also has one.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Honorable mention, Ellen.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, I knew those people were out there somewhere, and I didn't really know that I caught them until I got home and looked at my photos. And I was blown away by how tiny the people looked.
Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
after our program last month. I keep thinking about getting out and doing those.
Redwoods.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Third place,
Yeah.
Jerry.
Nice shot.
Oh,
Nice.
thank you. That's my
Very
new
nice.
best friend.
Very nice, Sherry.
Thanks. I
Really
tried
is,
it
yeah.
in black and white, but I missed the color of his eyes. So
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
This
That
is
makes it-
perfect.
Yeah. And actually it
Lovely.
is monochromatic except for the eyes, and that's what
Except for
really
the
makes
eyes.
them pop. Yeah. it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
thank you.
Yep.
Congratulations. Second place,
Hmm.
Cindy.
Thank you. I was actually, this is like a week or 2 old baby hippo, and they were sun tanning while we were waiting for the wildebeest to cross. So they didn't even really know what was coming across from them, but I liked it myself, so.
So sweet.
Nice.
Congratulations. First place, Greg. You're muted, Greg.
There we go. Yeah, so these cherry blossoms are on a tree behind our house. And I just thought they were so beautiful at sunset. So I was photographing them, and I also knew that April's waxing full moon was happening. And when I sized up the blossoms, I noticed that the moon was at the same scale and size. as it blossoms. So I took an image of the moon and the blossoms and then made a composite, moved the moon in and gave it a nice pink tint.
Very nice.
Nice, works. Works
Yeah.
good, yeah.
And after all, the April moon is the pink moon.
Yes.
Oh,
Exactly.
yes,
So
There you go.
nice, yeah.
I was motivated to make it pink for various reasons.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Pictorial Masters, 7 images, honorable mention. Gary.
Yeah, that was fun. I was at the parade and I saw the drum line. And I was thinking, oh, for some reason I thought a longer exposure might bring out the drumsticks. And I just had a chance for 2 or 3 shots as they walked by, and I got lucky there, and then did some cropping and everything. So it was just a fun image, and I just wanted to call it. Can you hear the music?
Nice.
Nice, Gary.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Nice shot.
Congratulations. Honorable mention, Herb. He actually got that tree with no clouds obscuring it, but just slightly around it.
Yep.
That's really
Nice.
well captured.
Congratulations to Herb. Honorable mention, Anne.
Oh,
And was that at Salt Point?
I think it must have been. I'm not positive. I'm pretty sure that's where I would have seen something like that. I just like the color palette and all the shapes and
It's
Yeah.
getting hard to tell you and Tricia apart for these
Yeah.
abstracts.
All the
Yeah.
textures.
Yeah, that's really
Great
cool.
texture.
Nice, and yeah.
Congratulations. Honorable mention, Tamara.
Thank you. You guys have seen some of this event before, so I'll try not to bore you with thousands of them, but it was a pretty amazing time, so.
Oh, it
Please
really
do.
is.
Yeah,
take your
please
point
do.
for
We
them not
love your
looking at
work.
me.
Oh, yeah.
I purposely kind of liked them where they weren't looking at me because I wasn't part of this event, but I get your point, and I might go back and look at my 10,000 other images from that day.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really fun with looking at each individual face, and everybody's got something else going on. And then I love all the colors that people wear, in Africa like that.
very true.
I was really struck by all the abdomens and the life stories that are kind of written on their flesh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's if those of you who were here last month when I showed the backs of all these women and their whip marks,
Yeah.
they never used to wear shirts. I guess it's just in the last decade or two that they've started wearing these shirts. But they roll them up so you can see their whip marks on the back. And sometimes they cover their breasts like this. A lot of them don't. But again, I edited a little bit it wasn't really necessary to have ones with no shirts on. But you see every stretch mark from all their many children.
Wow.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
so interesting.
Thanks.
Oh, really are.
Very nice.
Where are you this month?
I'm actually here in Seattle. That's why I'm here, because I don't have to get up at 4 a.m. So I thought I would jump in this time. I'm
What a
just up the
treat.
street from you guys.
Yeah.
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 Congratulations.
Thank you.
Third place,
Yep.
Liz.
Yep.
So lovely.
I haven't entered in a while, so it was fun to get a nod. Thank you.
Oh, it's your phone.
Yeah.
Great.
With a phone?
Wow.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
Congratulations. Second place, Mike.
That was a microphone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, that's sure nice. Nice one there.
Yeah, it's
Let's have a time machine.
like
Yeah.
clap shot.
I wonder
Beautiful.
if this was like a historical reenactment somewhere, or
Yeah.
Possibly one of those Civil War reenactments. I know
Yeah.
some of the
Yeah.
people have photographed in the past. You can just see a little bit of the flag behind them
Right.
in the tent, and
Right.
it looks like rifles or something stacked up. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure what that's
But
going
for
on.
enactment, that's a genuine beard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Some of those people go all out. That's what they live for.
Yeah, maybe down the road in Duncan's
I was
Mill.
gonna say.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Mike. First place. Tamara.
Oh, thank you. I've been trying backlit a lot, and it's not as easy as it looks. I'm not too happy usually, but I kind of like this one, so thank you.
Works.
Yeah, it
I
worked
noticed
great.
Becky's cat came out when this one came up.
She had strong opinions.
I like how it's not only backlit that you get what I understand that the light is really like that bright orange, but you can see the the spots. They don't dominate, but you see they're there. So it was really a nice balance that you got to really notice it as a silhouette, but when you look closer, you actually see the spots.
Thanks. Yeah, I've been trying it both ways, where the animals are black, kind of blacked out, but you can still tell if it's a lion or whatever. Cheetahs, I thought, well, you kind of need to see the spots if I don't, maybe you wouldn't know what it was, or it would look like a regular cat or something. But lions, I kind of like almost blacked out, but I'm still figuring that out a little bit. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Keep going. I'm sure we want to see more of this. Yeah.
Well, I won't see any while I'm in Seattle, so it'll take me another month to get back home again, and then I'll go back to more animals.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Although I have a bobcat in my backyard here, I'll keep an eye out for.
Congratulations. And the grand winner this evening, Tamara.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Oh,
That's
I'm
good.
shocked. I'm really shocked.
The grand, huh? Yeah, that's good.
Well, I really appreciated the comments about the taboo. I couldn't decide whether to leave the mother in there, but she had such a great horn. I thought, oh, I have to leave her in there. Otherwise, it's just a shot of, I don't know. So thank you for appreciating that. That was
Oh, we're appreciating.
It's the haiku.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, the guide said it's once a year, and this is in a rhino sanctuary where they have the most rhinos of anywhere in Africa. I think they said they have about 700 right now.
Wow.
They're overcrowded, in fact. They're adding land because there's too many rhinos. And I asked him, how often do you see them mating? And he's there every single day. He said about once a year, and rarely in daylight out in the open, not enclosed in trees or in bushes or just out in the field like that. So I said, oh, I guess I got pretty lucky. And then I happened to have my camera down.
Wow, he is so
Right.
big to be up there on his hind legs like that. It is like amazing.
He's kind of gentle.
Yeah.
Well, and then the sad part, I thought about doing this as a nature series because the female fell down at one point, or kind of her front legs collapsed, and it was hurting her, and she started kind of crying and making this horrible sound. And normally guides aren't supposed to get involved. They let nature take their course, but rhinos are kind of special. So the guide said, I have to stop this, excuse me. And I thought, how do you stop rhinos having sex? But it doesn't take very much. You just kind of, make some noise and and he got off her so she could stand up, because he said they can break their legs pretty easily. She was fine.
Wow.
She stood back up and she was fine. So we left them to their own privacy after that.
I think they weigh about 2,000 pounds. I think something like that.
Oh, yeah, I think at least. I think
Yeah.
males are more than that.
so
These are white
huge.
rhinos. They have black and white there. The blacks are the mean ones. The white are the ones like these that aren't mean. And that's why I could put my camera out on the ground and shoot tethered, because they won't, they're not, I wouldn't say they're not dangerous, but you don't do anything close to a black rhino, where the white ones, they're not so bad.
Interesting.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats.
Amazing image.
Well, as a relatively newbie, I really like tonight's images. A lot of really good ones.
Yeah.
Stellar night. Great judge. Thank you,
Yeah.
Becky.
Really, really
Yes,
appreciate,
thank you.
really
Yeah,
appreciate the
en-
judging.
enjoyed your
Yes,
Thank you,
comments.
Becky.
Yep.
brava.
Great job.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
You gave me a lot to work with.
I
Back
really,
again.
I really love the poetry of your words.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think we are working with visual poetry here, so the words should match.
Thank
Quite easily done. Very good.
you.
Very
Thank
good.
you,
Right.
everyone, and happy seeing.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Night.
Good
Hey,
night.
Bill and Linda.